Hey guys, it's time to Netflix and chill. In this video today, I'll be showing you the Guardian Warden tank build that you can use for all 4-man PvE content, including Dragonstone Arena and Black Widows Prison. The Warden tank class is notable for potential buffs and debuffs it can offer, including minor vulnerability, which replaces an entire 5-piece set item, including Infallible Aether, minor toughness, which is considered critical for most raid groups, and of course, their own synergies and utilities offered to different kinds of groups. Before we get to the rest of the video, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel yet, to get the latest ESO news, information, builds, and guides from yours truly, please consider doing so, as it means a lot to me as I plan to create more ESO content. The focus of the Guardian Warden tank build will be on all 4-man content, buffs and debuffs, crowd control, and passive and active group sustain/survivability. While you can tank with any race with this build, I recommend Nord, Imperial, Argonian, and Breton. To showcase the Guardian Warden tank build, I picked an Imperial. Now, in terms of the attributes, we have 63 points to health and 1 point in stamina. In terms of attributes, you can pretty much do whatever you'd like, as long as you're comfortable with the end results when you're actually tanking the content. What we end up here, however, is 18,407 max magicka, 44,448 maximum health, unbuffed, and 19,686 health, or stamina. Magic recovery is actually pretty high. We have over 1,600 magic recovery, almost 1,000 health recovery as a result of the Sugar Skulls, and stamina recovery is a bit low, but that's whatever, as always from most tank setups. Spell resistance is a little bit low, however this will be buffed shortly along with other mitigation values. In terms of the Mundus stone, we have the Atronak, and again this will depend on how much magic recovery you're comfortable with, although I do recommend the Atronak for this build. In terms of food, as I mentioned just briefly when I was looking at the health recovery, the Sugar Skulls is going to be your go-to food in terms of best possible food. You can use purple tri-stat food, but you'll just be missing out on a couple hundred more max stats. That's pretty much it, along with free health recovery. In terms of item sets, the primary monster set we want to use here is going to be the Troll King. Troll King is actually a pretty insanely strong set to have in a lot of groups. Even in trial groups, healers can use Troll King, particularly in Veteran Cloud Rest for the Baneful or Execute, just to play safer. So Troll King definitely has its application, and on this build it's going to have an application in terms of providing survivability to the group. It's going to be very noticeable. In fact, I was asked by a DPS who ran with me when I was running this build, are you running Troll King? Because it was that noticeable. And in groups where you may not have a healer or a beginner healer that doesn't know how to heal, Troll King is going to be very invaluable. So what does Troll King do? Not only does it add 4% healing done, which is great when we're healing the group, it also procs the main 2-piece bonus. So when you heal yourself or somebody else in your group, if they are still below 50% health, their health recovery is increased by a whopping 1,548 for 10 seconds. So for those of you who don't know how health recovery, magic recovery, and stamina recovery works, as it says on the tooltip here, when in combat you recover X amount of health, magicka, or stamina every 2 seconds. So let's say I dip or somebody dips below 50% health. With my current health recovery, I would get over almost 2,500 health recovery. So I would be technically healing myself every 2 seconds with the value of 2,500. That's a lot, especially when you consider the fact that mitigation and block and avoiding damage plays into the dynamic equation of combat. So Troll King is definitely a must in my opinion for this build. You can go with other monster sets like Symphony, Earthcore, Lord Warden, and Stonekeeper if you're having sustain issues, but other than that, definitely Troll King for sure, because it's going to fit in with what you're going to do on the Guardian build. The first primary 5-piece set is going to be Ebon. Ebon is a huge tank staple set. Doesn't matter if you're going to trials, doesn't matter if you're going to go into 4-man dungeons or arenas. Ebon is a really interesting set in terms of providing a safety net by increasing the max health, not just for you, but for other players within 28 meters of your red balls. So 1,000 free max health never hurts anybody, especially for groups that may be progressing through harder content. So Ebon's going to be a really good set to have on this build, because I'll go over it in a bit. Now for the 7 pieces of the armor here, in terms of traits and enchantments, we have maximum health on pretty much everything here. In terms of traits, we have sturdy on the head, sturdy on the shoulder, sturdy on the other smaller pieces. We have 2 infused on body. So you can mix and match, you can pretty much do whatever, as long as you're comfortable with the end results. I tried to go for at least 42,000 max health with this build, and I kind of ended up with a bit more, which is actually pretty fine, as you will see later on. The secondary 5-piece set for the Guardian Warden type build for PvE is going to be Hollowfang. Hollowfang is a really, really insanely strong sustain set. If your DPS are Magicka, and a lot of people do play Magicka DPS, especially when they're trying to clear something for the first time. This is true for a lot of 4-man groups that try to come together to beat like Black Rose Prison or Dragon's Arena, or if they're trying to beat a Vet DLC Dungeon Hardman for the first time. They tend to be Magicka DPS. So that's where we're going with this. Obviously you can go with other sets if they're not Magicka DPS, but this also helps you out as well as a tank. Now, what does Hollowfang do? Hollowfang not only gives us some spell critical, which is okay, but not terribly great for a tank, it gives us a max Magicka bonus. What we want to look at here is a 5-piece bonus. Whenever you critically heal or critically damage a target, spawn a ball of hemoglobin at their location. After 2 seconds, the ball explodes, restoring 3,000 Magicka and applying minor vitality to you and your allies within 6 meters of the ball for 9 seconds, increasing the healing received by 8%, and this has no cooldown. Kind of. It does have a 2-second delay, which you could consider as a cooldown, but it does occur every 9 seconds, and the duration of minor vitality and the burst Magicka gain also occurs every 9 seconds, and it's pretty noticeable. It's a very big AoE. As you can see, you can be near your group members, pretty easy to get on them. And now note, very interesting thing to note, it also said whenever you critically damage a target. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, Nephis, when do tanks even, DPS or damage, do they even have crit damage? So, yes, tanks do crit damage. Even if your weapon crit spell crit is really low as a tank, you will still crit damage at times. A lot of times, actually. More so than you know, more so than you realize. This is why Nightblade tanks became really popular with the Elsewhere patch last year, because people wanted them for their minor savagery passive from Hemorrhage, which offered weapon crit. And, a lot of people thought, well, why not just bring a Stamina Nightblade DPS into the group to provide that? However, Nightblade tanks could still provide that because they could keep a really good uptime, very comparable to actual DPS, even though they had literally less than 50, 40, 30% weapon crit and spell crit. So that's something to consider. That Hollowfang is going to pretty much have virtually no cooldown, and it will be easy to kind of target people with. You either heal them yourself, or you damage something, or you light attack something, and that may crit. And people are typically gather around the boss, or gather around you, or gather around each other, depending on the mechanics of the fight. So Hollowfang is going to definitely get to them. A lot of people also have the question of, well, why not wear Worm at that point? What if I join puns where people are spread out? Hollowfang's not getting to them. It's true. Worm could definitely have an application here, However, Hall of Fang, again, like a lot of dungeons are stack and burn fights. So Hall of Fang is actually going to have a greater resource return, provided people do stand in them, over Worm. Over a greater length period of time, over a shorter period of time, Hall of Fang pretty much wins out. That's why you see a lot of healers kind of ditch Worm in a lot of trial groups, and even 4-man groups, and go with Hall of Fang. So this is something to consider. And also, again, if no one else is going to take it, you yourself can take it, really. Because, again, it's 3,000 max magic group. Look at that max magic go back up. And also, don't forget about the minor vitality for both you and your group members. Minor vitality, with you providing healing, with Troll King plus your own Warden innate heals, like this skill right here, and such, is pretty much going to be very, very, very important. In terms of traits for jewelry, sword and board, and staff, because we will have a staff in the back bar to provide off balance, and also keep up a Crusher enchantment. We have Triune on every jewelry piece. I tried out multiple combinations of Arcane, Healthy, Robust, Infused, even Harmony, and surprisingly, I actually like Triune the most with this build. Sustain was significantly better than a couple of the other combinations I chose. You can experiment with this yourself if you'd like, but this is what I found to be the best for the Guardian build. In terms of enchantments, we have magic recovery enchantments, and this plays into your magic recovery here. Buffed, it's going to look like almost 1900 magic recovery. But then you also do need to realize you got some skills and passives of the Warden in play, so definitely make sure to check those out, such as Flourish, increase your magic and stamina recovery by 12% if an animal companion ability is slotted. You're going to have at least one animal companion ability slotted per bar with this setup, with this build, so keep that in mind as well. In terms of the trait on the weapons, so Hall of Fang Axe, or one-hander, powered, you will be doing healing on both bars sometimes depending on your bar setups, but your main heal is going to be this skill right here, and powered is going to affect the healing done. And again, that stacks with the minor vitality given by Hall of Fang, so something to consider. Sturdy on your shield. Again, this depends on what you need. It can be well fitted, can be infused, whatever. But I prefer the sturdy. In terms of enchantments, again, magic recovery on jewelry. Absorb stamina enchantment on the one-hander is actually okay as well. And maximum health on the shield. On the lightning staff bar, we do have Crusher. This is going to be a basic standard armor penetration debuff you can provide as to your group members, and it's going to be infused to boost that enchantment value of the reduction of physical and spell resistance. So keep that in mind. So we're pretty much providing as the Guardian not just free health, not just healing, and not just sustain plus more healing, but we're also going to give them, guess what, more healing. Or more health, actually. We're going to give them maturation. Maturation passive for Wardens. When you activate a heal on yourself or an ally, you grant them major or minor toughness, increasing their max health by 10% for 20 seconds. This is a really, really strong passive to have anywhere in the game. Whether it's PvP, PvE, trials, dungeons, arenas. Having a Warden provide this is essential for a lot of groups, especially progression groups, or people struggling with content. Note, in addition to Eben, this stacks with Eben, the 1000 max health plus Eben. You just saw my health go up to almost 50,000, and this will affect the DPS as well. And the easiest way, well, which I'll get into, easiest ways you can practice is going to be through a couple skills. Speaking of skills, let's get right to it. On the front bar, we have Gripping Shards. Gripping Shards is surprisingly a very good crowd control skill most of the time in a lot of dungeons. So basically, you immobilize them. You also do have a high damage because it does scale off of your max health. And this plays into why we're building towards max health, why we're having so much health from 45,000 to 50,000. This is gonna have an effect on some free damage. AoE wise, you're gonna be doing a decent amount of the group damage. And, you know, it's free damage, so why not? However, the crowd control aspect of this skill is pretty cool as well. It immobilizes enemies for 3 seconds when you hit them with it around you, and also deals frost damage every 1 second. Enemies are hit with a bitter cold, reducing their movement speed by 30%. So that also plays into the crowd control aspect of the skill, and it also does have a chance to apply the chilled status effect. Now, what does chilled status effect do? There's 3 status effects that are grouped together, usually within this category, within the category of elemental status effects. We have burning, we have concussion, and we have chilled. Chilled will apply minor maim to anything that's chilled. And if you want to look here in the destruction passes, we do have a, if you have an ice staff equipped instead of a lightning staff, it does increase the chance to apply, chilled status by 100%. Stacked with that can stack together. That's pretty much it. This is also a flex spot too. So if you need to use certain skills to pull in ads or whatever during fights or during trash fights, you can consider Silver Leash. You can also consider the frozen device, and this can also be interesting to use as a preemptive move. So if you know where the ads are going to spawn, you can set them wherever they may be, wherever they may come from. So this saves you a lot of time to kind of just set these down and start focusing on the boss or the fight on hand. And these skills these portals do last quite a while, and you can have up to 3 frozen devices at a time. So either between this or Silver Leash is usually the main go-to for a lot of Warden tanks. So that's pretty much it. And of course it does afflict the ads targeted with Major Meme, which is a significant debuff for 4 seconds. So if it is an ad that can be pulled in with Frozen Device, note that this does not affect bosses or elite ads that may not be pulled in or teleported to you. They will be afflicted with Major Meme. Otherwise, again, it's a flex slot, and you have something like this, Shimmering Shield. Shimmering Shield is really OP as well for Warden tanks. But this is more situational. A lot of people don't understand when to use it, like they don't understand when to use defensive posture. You can only use this when bosses or enemy mobs are shooting projectiles at you. By projectile, it has to be something, it's usually spell-based, like Zamaj's orb attack, where she just tosses a beach ball at you. Or it could be like a fireball attack from a flame Atronak. It's anything sort of projectile-like. And Shimmering Shield in certain situations will work to your benefit immensely. And each time you absorb a projectile, you restore max Magicka, and you gain Major Heroism for 6 seconds. Major Heroism is insane. This will lead you to putting out maybe a huge amount of healing, maybe more damage for the group. So that's something to keep in mind, keep in consideration as a flex skill. There are other skills like Budding Seeds and maybe Corrupting Pollen to give synergies to your group. You do have Nature's Grasp, but this is kind of weird, especially for 4-man, but you can try it out. I just kind of don't like using it personally. Deceptive Predator. So Deceptive Predator, on the Sword and Warden bar, you do get minor evasion, which does reduce AoE damage by 10%. So that's also another consideration. If you're going to have trouble with snares and immobilizations for certain trash fights or boss fights, Race Against Time is definitely your go-to skill as well for the Sigil guild skill line. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. You can also consider one of these, whether it's going to be AoE Major Fracture or AoE Major Breach. You decide, depending on maybe the types of groups you usually run with. Dive, Like, the guaranteed off balance can be okay, but again, it's just really up to you what you want to put here. So anyway, the second skill, Pierce Armor. We're going to have Pierce Armor because we will already have a source of minor protection, so we don't need to go ransack. And Pierce Armor will provide major fracture and major breach. For the third skill, Polar Wind. Polar Wind is your main burst / heal over time ability. The fact that this skill has been reworked or buffed at least 5 times in its history. So at this point, it's pretty consistent, pretty strong. It scales off not just your, max magic or spell damage, which you don't have a lot of as a tank, but the healing from this ability scales with your max health. So again, this plays into why we're building for health on this Guardian tank build. We get the minor toughness with the Ebon, and the amount of healing you're going to do is going to be based off of the almost 50,000 health you have. So that's a lot of burst heals and healing over time. You do instantly heal for X amount of health, which does again scale off your max health, and additional health every second for about 5 seconds. So it's not just a heal or a burst heal, it's also a heal time, which is going to help quite a bit. And also, it does heal somebody else within 12 meters. And this is a smart priority heal, so it's going to prioritize the person with the lowest health as well. It also does have some frost damage, which is kind of whatever, but that does have a chance to, I guess, sort of apply chills, the chilled status effect to targets. But again, this is a really important skill to have as a Warden tank. Definitely take it. It's your main heal. Heroic Slash for the minor heroism, granting us ultimate generation, pretty much free. And also on the boss, it does reduce the damage done to you and your allies by 15%. Very significant debuff. Cannot be not emphasized that tanks run Heroic Slash, just any tank in general, most of the time. Fetcher Infection. Fetcher Infection is what we mentioned earlier in regards to, the Warden bringing a debuff to the table that even, outstrips or replaces an entire 5-piece item set like Infallible Aether. The Fetcher Infection, you want the Magical Morph, not the Stamina Morph, because as a tank, as a Warden tank, or any tank, stamina is a very precious resource. And especially if you're newer to tanking, or newer to Warden in general, you'll want to conserve your stamina, especially when you're not, playing familiar content. Stamina is used for blocking, roll dodging, breaking free. If you run out of stamina, trying to keep up, minor vulnerability every 9 to 10 seconds, it's not going to be great. That's why, I recommend Magicka, because Magicka recovery does still kick in even if you're blocking. So definitely Fetcher Infection instead of the Stamina Morph. And you pretty much just put this on target every 9 seconds, every 9 to 10 seconds. And the minor vulnerability is a significant debuff. It's 8% damage taken on a target. That's 8% more damage to everything. Every damage over time ability, every direct damage, every light attack and heavy attack by your group members. So definitely put this on the sorting board bar, because I tried the staff, the Fetcher Infection on the staff bar. It's clunky, it's a bit more awkward to use. I'm more comfortable here personally, but if you're more comfortable with it on the back bar, go for it. The ultimate on the front bar, Enchanted Forest. Enchanted Forest is your oh shit button. I mean, you can also do Sleet Storm, but ever since they kind of removed the passive Max Magicka from just slotting it, it's whatever. But you can still slot it, because it does increase your Max Magicka after activating it. But at that point, it's kind of better to just use a Horn for more damage done, for providing more utility for your to boost your group damage. But yeah, it's a consideration. But Enchanted Forest is going to be really useful for oh shit emergency situations as well. It's going to do a lot of healing done. I actually almost survived just getting tethered by Zahn in Veteran Scale Collar Peak without anyone blocking the tether. If I had cast maybe a second later, I would have probably survived solo. With the amount of health I had, plus the healing done from this, yeah, it's a pretty strong ultimate. On the back bar, we have Sanguine Altar. A lot of people ask me, well, which morph should I take, green or red? The green altar, or overflowing altar, provides more healing done when someone synergizes it, or rather more healing amount. And that's only really useful for certain situations where the healing amount is needed. I would say maybe the only place I use the overflowing altar morph, the green morph, green altar morph would be for Veteran Moongrave Fane Hard Moon. But outside of that, Sanguine Altar is going to fulfill most of your needs for every single other instance, besides Moongrave Fane Hard Moon. So Sanguine Altar, it's just a longer duration. It gives you time to do other stuff, but if you're comfortable, since it is an instant cast skill that just kind of takes away some of your health, you can do Overflowing Altar. This is kind of personal preference. And this is the main way of us applying maturation, or minor toughness from maturation passive from the green balance skill line. This is a way where everything within the range of the altar, 28 meters, bosses, enemies, mobs, when they get hit by your group members, the minor lifesteal is already applied on to the enemies, which heal you and your allies for 705 health every 1 second when damage them. This counts as you healing them, as you healing your teammates. So this will give them indirectly minor toughness, which will increase their max health, which will help them survive. Inner Rage. Now again, you can, this is kind of a flex spot too. You can do like Silver Leash or the portals we kind of mentioned earlier to pull and range that. Otherwise, it's still good for certain fights where you need to range taunt certain ads during a boss fight or something like that. So keep that in mind. Blockade of Storms, this is just to help provide off balance once things are concussed. You can do an Ice Staff. I was actually thinking of doing an Ice Staff, but it's if you basically want to provide more damage to the group, use the Blockade of Storms, because most DPS specs will be running the Exploiter perk. Whether it's Magic or Stamina, as of the Harrowstorm patch, even Magic DPS, like Dragon Knights and Necromancers are running 75 points into Ritual, just to get that Exploiter perk. And that increases every of their damage abilities done against off-balance enemies by 10%. But again, you can do an Ice Staff. The Ice Staff will help you with the Guardian build in crowd controlling and helping apply chill, minor maiming things AoE wise. So it's really up to you. The Ice Fortress. Now going back to what we said about Pierce Armor versus Ransack, objectively speaking, for 4-man content, you don't really need Expansive Cloak, which is more used for trials where people are more spread out at times, or positionings of the fight can be weird or like too spread. That's why a lot of people use Expansive Cloak. But for 4-man content, you can reach everybody usually. So Ice Fortress is going to be the way to go. It's an 8-meter radius, not too far, but it also gives you minor protection, and that's why we don't really need Ransack, which does provide minor protection. And that's pretty much it. It's also a Major Ward, Major Resolve source, so when you do activate it, your resistances go up, and this is more than enough for pretty much everything. The last skill, Blue Betting. This is your choice. You can basically, it really depends. Do you need more stam recovery? Do you need more magic recovery? If you need more magic recovery, go Blue Betting. If you need more stam recovery during the fight, and this does return stamina while you're blocking, go with the other Netch. It's really dependent on your stats. It's really dependent on what you're running out of. Personally, I went with the Blue Betty because I'm focusing a lot more on being active with my magic cost abilities like Fetcher, Polar Wind, and Trash Fights, Gripping Shards. So the betting niche for me is really noticeable. For stamina, I don't really have too many issues because of potions and heavy attacking, stuff like that. attacks, but so that's really up to you. Aggressive Horn. So again, we talked about this earlier, but Aggressive Horn is just going to add more damage in terms of crit damage for your group, while also giving you and your allies maximum Magicka, maximum stamina boost by 10% for 30 seconds. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Alternative skills you could use or consider, we kind of went over it. Living Vines for you as a tank, it can be good, but it's kind of redundant when you're using Alter, which already applies Minor Lifesteal. Lotus Flower, Green Flower, not really also a big deal either. You can use it as a passive healing done to both yourself or somebody else, but please do note that it's you or somebody else. It's not for everybody. So unlike Polar Wind, we can kind of just use it multiple times for multiple people. In terms of champion points, 81 into Ironclad, so 56 Hardy, 56 Elemental Defender, 66 Thick Skin, 11 Quick Recovery. This is gonna keep you going for every content, every forming content, every trial, or it's not trial, every dungeon, every arena. 51 Warlord, we have 6 Sprinter, 64 Arcanist, 26 Tenacity, we have 51 Tumbling, 72 Shadow Warden, 64 Blessed, 52 Elfborn, 43 Elemental Expert, and this is just going to help us. The Elemental Expert is going to help us with the damage aspect of grouping shards, especially AoE wise. And we don't have any points into the Atrodac compared to the other class builds we put out. We also do have 72 Dominators, 37 Precise Strikes, and we have the 2 into Piercing just because it's jump points with these perks. And again, that this is for the most part, you know, you can put 9 more points from here to here for Last Stand. That's kind of what I meant to do actually, and that's pretty much it. Once you unlock the Last Stand, you're done. If you guys have any questions about the build, let me know down in the comments below. If you have any feedback to give about the build, I definitely recommend checking it out. I definitely recommend trying it out. I personally have had fun using it and seeing people's reactions. So, yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for Nevis and chilling. Stay safe and have fun.